Welcome back to Living My Way. You're seeing Saleha Islam and Nur Jahan from the charities Muslim Youth Helpline and I Dare You.
It's about 0.5 grams a day. If you can help me.
To stop feeling so worthless. My doctor doesn't understand or even care. So I've stopped taking my antidepressant and now my life is spiraling
out of control. I know it's haram to self-harm. Seeing the blood flow eases the pressure in my head.
I can still hear his footsteps stopping outside my bedroom door. I feel dirty. I ask Allah, why would my uncle do this to me?
It's so unfair. Why do they pick on me? Please help me, because I am suffering every minute of every hour of every day.
Just a few of the 24,000 calls, emails, letters and web chats the Muslim Youth Helpline has handled since it began in 2001.
We just saw a brief report about Muslim Youth Helpline and young people with personal testimonies. Now, Saleha, this is an area I want to explore more and more, and we have been doing it on Elabed TV. We'd like to really go into this to help people, ideally to help people out there, first of all, understand that these problems are there in our society, to acknowledge them, to admit them, and then to say, well, how do we help? It's not just about admitting those, how do we find solutions? And it's also how do we support organizations which are out there dealing with real problems? And how do we get out of this sense of a utopian Islam and our mosques, look at how great we are, we've got so many mosques, and look at us, we're praying, look at us, how we're doing all these things wonderfully, and how our deen, alhamdulillah, how our deen is growing and how many people are reverting. We want to often just hear the good news. Absolutely. You know? And when we hear the bad news, because the community doesn't want to deal with it quite often collectively, we're awfully bad at finding these solutions. Can you tell me a little bit about your work with Muslim Youth Helpline particularly, and maybe relate it to some of your personal experiences as well?
Well, I think, one of the things that I want to say is that basically if you break a leg or you have some sort of cold or whatever, you go to the doctor, yeah? It's physical, you can see it. But when people have emotional, psychological problems, they don't want to deal with it. It's like they can't talk about it, as you said earlier. It's that whole thing about it's embarrassing, it's shameful. And I think also that, Islam is perfect. I know that, but I often say that Muslims aren't. And that's the reality check, is that basically, we're not saying that we're perfect. And we have to admit that first of all. And we have to admit that there are things wrong with us. Both our experiences show that, for example, slightly different in the sense that my parents, they wanted to be helpful, but they couldn't deal with what was going on for me at school or whatever. They wanted me to have an education, but there was other things that I didn't actually discuss. But racism at school, my teachers said that I wouldn't be able to kind of do well. So I think the thing is that basically, we have to realise that there are always going to be issues. So at the Muslim Youth Helpline, we've had, since we started, 35,000 contacts. Now, does that mean that there's no problem? There are problems.
Good Lord.
And every single problem that you can imagine.
35,000.
35,000 contacts that we've had. So we have a helpline that runs the whole week. And we have we run Monday to Friday, 6 to 12. And then the weekend we run from 12 midday to 12 midnight. We have emails. People contact us through emails, through letters, through internet chat.
Give me a sample of some of the issues.
Well, basically, one of our core things is about relationships. So young people having difficulties at home with their parents, with their siblings, with their husbands and wives. Because when we say youth helpline, we don't just stop at kind of 18. We go on till about 30, 32. We don't refuse anybody. You can be even older and ring up. So relationships, the whole issue around relationships, the complexity, the dynamics that go on. There's nobody there to help. We have institutions, but who's there to really help you about it? And people are looking for faith and culturally sensitive services. They don't want to ring the Samaritans per se. They don't want to ring, other organisations, because they're thinking, actually, we want something that's relevant to us. How do you explain the cultural issues that people go through? They want somebody to understand what they're going through straight away.
Give me one case study that particularly shocked you, for instance.
I'll tell you one thing. Actually, there's one that I'm thinking, but I think it's too early to discuss. I'll tell you another one. A young man rang us a few weeks ago saying that he was really angry on the phone. He was screaming, shouting, and saying, you can't really help me. I'm going through a lot. Blah blah blah. He was really, really angry, and the worker was trying to understand what it is that was wrong with him. Eventually, after about half an hour, what we found out is that he was literally living in prison in his own home. So he was being beaten up at home. He's kind of, he's about 22 years old. He was being beaten up at home. He was being told to work in his shop. And he had no ability to go and meet his friends. He had no life whatsoever. One day a week, he'd get on a bus and he'd go and sit by the river. And he was contemplating committing suicide. So every week, because he had nothing to live for, everything was controlled by his family. And for some reason, the family hated him. He's got other siblings, but they hated him. And he has no way out. He said that he's got no money. So he works literally for free. It's just food he gets, and he stays, but nothing else. So his life for him is unbearable. It's really difficult. So he rang and he said, look, there's no one for me. I can't do anything. I'm completely just stuck like prison. What do I do? How can you help me? So things like that, it's just a very small issue. It may seem a small issue, but for this young man, he's contemplating suicide. So every week when he goes to that river, he's thinking of throwing himself in.
Well, of course, 15% of the prison population is now Muslim.
Yes.
And it's predominantly young people.
Yeah.
So that's another evidence. Your 35,000 calls, these prisons that are filling up with our kids, other kind of untold stories where people are just quietly taking the pain and the problems, says that we do have issues. So
I think the other thing is basically, we get lots of cases around basically people ringing up survivors of abuse, of child abuse, of sexual abuse, people ringing us about rape, etc., domestic violence, mental health, depression. Some of the cases, like I said, I think it's early in the morning that I can't discuss, but harrowing stories of incest, etc. How do you deal with those sorts of issues? How do you discuss it when there's no way of talking about it?
Well, one of our major challenges is clearly, mums. All these people are kids. They're children of some parents.
Yes, yeah.
They're all there. These are families, and these are individuals who've grown up within our community. And one of the things that, obviously, from our point of view, is not just to sit here and sanctimoniously say, "Oh, look, all these problems are there," but it's actually to offer solutions. So clearly, for parents who are watching, for parents who've got problems, for parents who don't want to publicise their problems, you have a telephone number, you have a helpline.
I'd say, one of the key things about the Muslim Youth Helpline is that basically we're a confidential service. When you ring up, you don't even have to give your name. And, we don't inquire in terms of, where you live, in terms of your address. And so basically, you have an outlet to just talk about your issue. You can ring up and say, this is what's going on for me. And we have volunteers who are trained up to listen. And so, you can check on our website basically and just ring us, because I think the thing is that if you are able to share a problem, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger until you're literally ready to explode, or you're ready to take your own life. And how sad is that? Because there is hope, there is a way out, but you have to be able to let it, to talk about it.
So if you're watching, Google Muslim Youth Helpline. It's very easy. I think all the details, contact details will come up. If you'd like to phone in to our main phone-in number, I should ask the production team to send that up. Certainly in the second part of this program, you will see the phone number come up when the live calls come. You on that number, if you were to call us, we can certainly give you Muslim Youth Helpline's details. But if you all else, do go onto Google and connect, see what the services are there, and connect. If even if there's somebody who's in trouble, somebody who's got a problem, and they don't know where to turn to, this is one outlet.
Please do. I think the thing is, we are here for our Muslim brothers and sisters. As I said, we're faith and cultural sensitive. You don't have to worry about anything that you have. Whatever issue you have, you can talk about it with us.
Well, I'm gonna actually introduce you to a small report on the I Dare You group. So just turning to I Dare You, we'll actually focus on some of the work that you're doing, Nurjan, straight after this report.
it was an idea that was reinforced over the years. It was an idea that literally dictated how I spent the last 10 years of my life. And that idea is the Idea U Foundation. Now, Idea U's mission objective is purely and very simply to empower women to possess and apply the skills that they need to go on to fulfilling their dreams. Its core principle stems from the fact that if they can acquire those skills to fulfill their dreams, then they must give back to the community to make it a better place. Now, Idea U achieves the empowering of women to fulfill their dreams through 5 distinct projects. And those projects are, firstly, Idea U Challenge. And what this project looks at is to help women to recognize and identify, okay, what are the obstacles, the challenges that are preventing you from following your dreams. We have Idea U Explore, where we look at, okay, what is your passion plus your talent to help you enable you to go on to doing something that you're passionate about. Idea U Mentor provides a mentoring service so that you can go on to putting that action plan into action. Slice of Your World is providing a shadowing service to those women who wish to go into a particular area of their interest to give them that further inspiration. And finally, Sister You Rock is for those women who have been through and walked the Idea U journey. We re-invite them to come back into the foundation to not only be an additional source of inspiration, but to share their stories with like-minded people. Now, because the concept of Idea U is to fulfill your dreams and then give back to humanity, give back to society, it's absolutely fundamental to understand that in order for that true change to occur, you must do so by supporting each other, regardless of your background, regardless of your race, religion, or creed. So I dared myself to go and pursue my academia. I dared myself to utilize my education, which I initially viewed as an escape route, to use it as a tool to give back to humanity, give back to communities. So today, I dare each and one of you to say hello to your neighbors. I dare you to go back to your localities and help and care for your communities. I dare you to become a hook of hope for someone. Thank you.
I dare you. Fantastic. I'm actually quite blown away. A couple of amazing women, amazing work that you're doing, and amazing organizations. And I think that, this is the kind of inspirational work and real work which I think the community sometimes overlooks and fails to appreciate. Now, that's not always the case, but there's many, many people out there who probably don't know about these organizations, don't know about what you're doing. So, I have the privilege of being able to introduce this to those who've never heard of these organizations before. You're able to help these organizations, you're able to join them, you're able to contribute, you're able to share, you're able to go and ask questions. So we're encouraging that. But tell me about, you've talked very candidly about your own background. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for sharing that with us, Nurjan, because not a lot of people within the community would be even brave enough to do that. So, firstly, thank you. But the thing is, that experience now manifested in this organization, I Dare You. You talked about storytelling as a major tool that you use. Tell me a little bit about your techniques with I Dare You.
So those projects are delivered in workshops and seminars, or even conferences. But every woman, when I say woman, these are women who are Muslim and non-Muslim, and the majority are actually non-Muslim at the moment. And the idea is, whoever walks in through the door, we have like a silent code of conduct. Whatever we say stays within those 4 walls. And it's by sharing my story with them that I'm able to get them to open up and to get the ladies to tell part of their stories that come under those banners of those 5 projects. And that's why, storytelling is a very powerful tool generally. We grow up hearing stories from our grandparents, our parents, and traditionally that's how information has been cascaded down. So why do something that nobody can relate to? And because I believe in the power of storytelling so much, it's through, literally, we don't have any professional process as such. It's a free flow storytelling method where everybody talks about what they feel are their challenges, what they want to do, and try to identify what really is their dream that they want to do. So I had a lady last year who's in her mid-50s, for example, Eastern European, very, very qualified in her country of origin, coming here, family issues occurred, never having the confidence to actually do something with her life. Now her dream was to do GCSE maths so that she can access adult courses. It might sound really trivial for those who are here who take the education system for granted, but her getting her GCSE maths meant an entire new world was open for her. On the other end of the spectrum, I've got young 16, 17, 18-year-olds who are literally just hanging around, loitering in street corners, not really making use of their sixth form time or college time because they don't have that support from home or the encouragement really that they can actually go into doing something great. And I'm showing you two different stories purely because that's what idea is all about. Is those ladies that society or communities have given up on for whatever reason, I say, thank you, I'll have them. If you don't want them, I will have them, because reality of it is that's the majority of women. And because I'm an advocate for women education, because of my own journey to this point, is I will do anything I can by sharing my story to say, if I can do it, then you certainly can. I've had many things happen to me other than the homeless story. My homeless part of my story was a big element of it, but there's been many trials and tribulations along that journey. And today, even till this day, my major resistance, believe it or not, is from my own community. Why are you not Muslim exclusive? And this proves my point that without integration and understanding of working together, we will never really have a powerful impact in trying to bring a good change about in the community. So this is a continuous challenge I get, but the work that I do, it motivates me more because it goes to show me there's so much more work to do. And it's only through working with different people from all backgrounds, black, blue, gay, Jewish, I really don't care who you're from. As long as you're a woman, 16 plus, and you want to do something positive with your time, then we're here to help.
Isn't this essentially what the deen is really about? Yeah, we do flower up our deen to be something which is almost like a badge we wear to say we're superior. But the actual coming into doing something, rolling up your sleeves and actually doing something for others, isn't that what the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, ultimately was about?
Absolutely.
That he was primarily about how am I going to be a mercy to the world? Mm-hmm. It wasn't about bigging himself up. It wasn't about saying I am this, I am that. In fact, it's the Quran which constantly imposes on the Muslims that you must respect the Prophet, you must do this, you must behave like this towards him. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran who has to tell off even the Muslims who are not minding their manners towards the Prophet at that time. He himself was nothing but humility. We, on the contrary, tend to be all about ourselves.
Absolutely, it's turned around.
Yeah,
it's turned around.
How have we missed that point? I don't understand sometimes.
I mean, it's just really sad that, rather than be compassionate and loving, that we have become harsh. And if you have a hair out of place, or you don't have a beard,
the judgmentalism comes in.
And in the service, the Muslim Youth Helpline, we say we are non-judgmental. We're non-sectarian. We're we're apolitical. So basically, we are here and saying we understand that people are going to go through difficulties, and we're not there to judge because the person that's ringing us, they're already judging themselves. That's why they can't deal with their issue. That's why they're ringing us. And that's what Islam is. And that's what brings people to Islam. It's not what's going on. If they look at the kind of, I actually question myself, why would anyone want to come in Islam if they see what's going on in the news? But the real Islam is that beautiful compassion, that understanding of humanity, that love. And, as you say about how the Prophet ﷺ was, if he was the way the people are nowadays, they would never convert. They would never be Muslim.
And that's why, just to add to that, that's why for me, my underlying ethos and everything that I do is something my dad always taught me. And my dad always said, the best way to educate people about your religion is be the best possible Muslim you can be. And you'll be so shocked, but the number of more non-Muslim ladies that I work with, they say, you know what, it's really nice to see this element, because we don't hear that on the media because that's all they have, or the negative interaction I've had so far.
Well, I love your idea that you're not going to ghettoize your organization, because if you say, the mere fact that somebody says, why are you not just doing it exclusively Muslims, as if we're only meant to help Muslims as Muslims. It's actually narrowing down and confining the message of the Prophet, peace be upon him, to a certain group. And if he was a mercy to all worlds, not only for jinn and men, but for angels and for everybody, then the reality is, why on earth are we confining to saying that, I'll only help those people who I think are Muslims, and then they've got to be Muslims of a certain kind. And then there are all sorts of hypocrisies that sort of come into us. Helping is a universal thing, and helping whoever's in trouble surely is a Muslim prerogative and absolute imperative. And again, I don't think we've even scratched the surface of the work you're doing. I'd love to invite you back again to uncover more of the journeys that you've had, and I'd love to also discuss more of the stories that you've faced or had to deal with in terms of helping. It's a never-ending issue. We're going to continue campaigning on this, and Mohsin Abbas, until the next edition of Living My Way.